Asterisk, they told us it was just bad judgment. They said it was limited business meetings.
I was trafficked by the former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO and a web of people that are highly connected to Jeffrey Epstein through Les Wexner. And I have a lot more things that I want to share with you. But before I do that, I'm going to ask you to, again, please save this, share this, watch in its entirety, because that's how you can help get this message out there more so that some sort of justice can actually happen, but for many men and women. You being here protects me in some small way, because this is fucking scary. There are people with a lot of power that don't want these messages out. And I've been whistleblowing since 2014 on some level about all of this, and I'm grateful that you are finally here and able to hear this in a way that makes it make more sense. So thank you. Before I go into sharing more with you, I want to ask you some questions, and I really want your answers. Like, please leave your answers to these questions. Do you think it's weird that Les Wexner took Jeffrey Epstein, who was just a school teacher, and became Jeffrey Epstein's main client for his money management company from the years of 1987 to 2007? Do you also think it's interesting that Les Wexner gave Jeffrey Epstein really valuable real estate? Do you think it's, I don't know, you tell me the word, that in 1991, Les Wexner made Jeffrey Epstein the power of attorney, which gave him the ability to do a lot of stuff at the hands of one of the richest men in the world? And now this is where it's going to get complicated, and I'm going to ask you to refrain from homophobia. Is it possible that Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein had some sort of romantic or sexual relationship themselves, and that men and boys from the very beginning have also been a part of this in a really twisted way? Another question for you. Do you think that all the limited brands, Abercrombie & Fitch, Bath & Body Works, Victoria's Secret, had no idea about any of this? Another question for you. Do you think it's strange that the story I whistleblew to the BBC, which has now been highly documented with a ton of evidence in a documentary, multiple articles, and an ongoing podcast, became public on October 2nd, 2023. The documentary was released on October 6th, 2023. What happened the day after? Is it also strange that less than 3 months later, my TikTok, where I had amassed a following of 2.1 million followers, was permanently banned forever, meaning that my IP address made it so I could never create an account ever again? As I continue to have this conversation with you, I want it to be a conversation, which means you also need to think about some of the puzzle pieces at play. The more that you have information, the more that you can come to a much clearer conclusion. This story deals with power, it deals with leverage, it deals with manipulation, and it deals with a lot of young, vulnerable people, because this didn't just start at one specific moment. It's an ongoing thing that was built way before me and still going on way after me. And I'm grateful that you're here so we can keep having this conversation so that we can actually make change. And if you are new here, I'd like to welcome you to our love army. Much love, y'all.
All this Epstein file shit, it just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier and deeper and deeper. And so Ro Khanna and Massey just released the names of these guys that had been redacted from the list, and one of them is what is his last name? Les Wexner, right? Who's the CEO of Victoria's Secrets. Is he the CEO or the owner?
Former CEO.
Former owner, CEO of Victoria's Secrets. He's being named as a co-conspirator now. Yes. Yeah, so he's being named along with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Because he runs this modeling, Victoria's Secrets, hot girls, the whole deal. Somehow or another, he's involved in this. And they had redacted his name up until now, right?
Sure, yeah. Well, two things. I don't think anybody... his existence as a co-conspirator isn't new information.
But it's confirmed now, right?
It was, people I think are up in arms is that it wasn't supposed to be blocked out from the files.
Exactly.
He's not a victim.
Right, he's not a victim, so why was his name redacted? Right. And so they got it unredacted, and now he's being named.
I think he's the funder of most of it, is what it seems.
What? Right. Well, so people knew that there was something going on, but he had gifted Jeffrey Epstein this insane house in Manhattan. So this was like a $60 million house in Manhattan. You know the house where you go into it and you see Bill Clinton in a dress? Yeah. You know that picture that we have out in the lobby? Yeah. That's from the foyer of his house.
Right.
That Jeffrey Epstein was gifted by Les Wexner. By the way, Whitney Webb posted on her Twitter about Les Wexner being a sex trafficker, a child sex trafficker, in 2020. See if you can find that. Like that crazy chick is right about everything.
The one the lady was kidnapped, or she was claimed she was kidnapped, was in his house in New Albany, Columbus. She claimed she was being held there for, I don't know, 2 weeks or something, like doing art. She called her dad to try to get out of there or something like that.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and that's like his involvement is like brand new information.
This was in Columbus, Ohio?
Well, New Albany is where that's where his house is. The biggest house in Ohio, I think. It's a suburb of Columbus. It'd be like Westlake to
Right.
People think he's still there. That's where Epstein's living, but that's not.
Well, the people that think he's alive, I think they think he's in Israel, don't they?
Definitely, I think they're AI photos. They might not be.
Oh, I saw that.
But
yeah.
People think he's been seen or spotted around town.
Wouldn't you think he'd get some surgery?
You would think that he would have to.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably one of the most recognizable faces in the world at this point.
Yeah.
Like, after so much airtime.
You'd have to get some surgery if you wanted to still. I mean, how would you keep that? This is the tweet. Your reminder that Leslie Wexner financed the mass rape and trafficking of thousands of American children for over a decade, and right now he is sitting in a 26K square foot mansion in New Albany, Ohio, thinking that he is above the law. She tweeted this in April 28 of 2020. How crazy is that?
Shit.
She's like the most prolific of all the conspiracy theorists, the most well-read, the one with the most recall, the one that's the most quoted. I don't know how she's so good at it. We're trying to get her on. I don't know how she's so good and what her background is, how she finds all this information, but she's always way ahead of all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, 2020.
That's crazy.
That's fucking way ahead of everybody.
Crazy.
Yeah.
They claimed they had no idea. But here's what they didn't tell you. Over 3 million pages of sealed documents, decades of private jets crossing international waters, Caribbean island visits with families, and dinner invitations reading Bring Your Harem. The Department of Justice just dropped the motherlode, court records, flight logs, private emails that read like a billionaire's black book. We're talking former presidents, tech moguls, Wall Street titans, even royalty. And the question nobody in power wants to answer. What do they really know about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes? Let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody with power wants to discuss. Jeffrey Epstein, convicted sex offender, billionaire financier, and the man who somehow had the private phone numbers of presidents, princes, and tech titans. He died in a Manhattan jail cell in 2019, but the secrets he took to the grave? They're coming back to haunt some very powerful people. Because in January 2024, a federal judge ordered the unsealing of nearly 900 pages of court documents. And then in February 2025, the Department of Justice dropped another bombshell. Over 3.5 million pages of files, flight logs, private emails, photographs, testimony from victims. The kind of evidence that makes PR teams work overtime and lawyers very, very nervous. Here's what we know. Epstein wasn't just some lone predator. He built an entire network. Private jets that flight logs show carried some of the world's most influential men. A Caribbean island compound that victims described as a trafficking operation. And a social circle that reads like a Forbes billionaire list, mixed with a political who's who. The names? Brace yourself. Former President Bill Clinton, mentioned in victim testimony, alleged by Epstein himself to like them young. Prince Andrew, accused by Virginia Giuffre of sexual assault when she was 17, later settling the lawsuit for an undisclosed sum. Donald Trump, photographed with Epstein countless times, though he later claimed they had a falling out. Tech billionaires like Elon Musk and Google co-founder Sergey Brin exchanging emails about island visits. Wall Street power brokers like Howard Lutnick, now Trump's Commerce Secretary, who emails show visited Epstein's island with his family in 2012, despite claiming he cut ties decades ago. And here's the part that should make your blood boil. Many of these associations continued after Epstein's 2008 guilty plea for soliciting prostitution from an underage girl. That's not a rumor. That's documented fact. Emails from 2011, 2012, 2013 showing dinners, meetings, private island invitations. All happening years after the world knew what Epstein was. Virgin Group founder Richard Branson wrote to Epstein in 2013, "Anytime you're in the area, would love to see you. As long as you bring your harem." A harem. Let that sink in. This wasn't coded language. This was blatant. So the question isn't just who knew Jeffrey Epstein. The real question is, who knew what he was doing and stayed friends with him anyway? Let's dive into what these documents actually reveal. And trust me, it's worse than the sanitized statements these people's lawyers have been feeding the media. The flight logs, Epstein's private jet, nicknamed the Lolita Express by investigators, wasn't just transportation. It was a crime scene with wings. Newly released flight logs show Donald Trump flew on that plane 8 times between 1993 and 1997. On one flight in 1993, the passenger list shows just 2 names, Trump and Epstein. No staff, no security, just the 2 of them. Bill Clinton? He admitted to 4 flights, but logs suggest many more, including trips to Africa with Epstein in the early 2000s. The island visits. Little St. James, Epstein's 72-acre private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Victims called it Pedophile Island. Court documents reveal Howard Lutnick, Trump's current Commerce Secretary, visited with his wife and children in December 2012. That's 4 years after Epstein's conviction. His Commerce Department now claims these were limited interactions. Limited? You brought your kids to his island. The emails. Oh, the emails. This is where it gets truly disturbing. In 2013, tech billionaire Stephen Tisch, co-owner of the New York Giants, exchanged emails with Epstein about a Ukrainian girl. Epstein described her physical appearance in graphic terms. Tisch's response? Pro or civilian? As in, is she a professional escort or just a regular woman? His recent statement admits they exchanged emails about adult women. Adult women. That's the defense. Casey Wasserman, president of the LA 2028 Olympics Committee, wrote to Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's convicted accomplice, now serving 20 years for sex trafficking. I think of you all the time. So what do I have to do to see you in a tight leather outfit? This is the person organizing an international sporting event that will host thousands of young athletes. The victim testimony. Johanna Schoberg, recruited by Maxwell at age 20, testified under oath that she met Prince Andrew at Epstein's Manhattan mansion. She described how Andrew allegedly touched her breast while they posed with a puppet. Prince Andrew denied everything until he paid Virginia Giuffre millions in a 2022 settlement. Virginia Giuffre herself testified she was trafficked to powerful men, including New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, who denied the allegations until his death in 2023. Here's what the public is asking. If these are just business relationships, why all the settlements? Why the NDAs? Why the silence? So what happens now? What are the consequences when the rich and powerful get caught in a dead pedophile's address book? Spoiler alert, not nearly enough. The legal fallout. Here's the frustrating reality. Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Ghislaine Maxwell is behind bars serving 20 years. But the men in those documents, the ones on the flight logs, in the emails, at the island, most of them will never see the inside of a courtroom. Why? Because being associated with a sex offender isn't a crime. Flying on his plane isn't illegal. Having dinner with him, even after his 2008 conviction, technically breaks no laws. But let's talk about who did face consequences. Prince Andrew, stripped of his royal titles by King Charles III, forced into exile from public life, and reportedly paid Virginia Giuffre somewhere between $12 to $16 million to make her lawsuit disappear. That's not an admission of guilt, his lawyers say. That's just, what a generous donation. Miroslav Lajčák, Slovakia's national security advisor, resigned within 24 hours of his Epstein communications going public in February 2025. Why? Because opposition parties and the public weren't buying his excuse that meeting with a convicted sex offender was part of his diplomatic duties. The corporate scramble. Companies are in full damage control mode. Richard Branson's Virgin Group released a statement claiming any dealings with Epstein were limited to group or business settings, and that they uncovered serious allegations and cut contact. Except the emails show Branson inviting Epstein to his private island in 2013, 5 years after Epstein's conviction. The math isn't mateing, Richard. Congressional investigations. The House of Representatives has launched inquiries demanding answers. They've subpoenaed records. They've called for testimony. Bill and Hillary Clinton? They refuse to testify. Elon Musk?